usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, we'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program. Well, why don't you drop us a line? Address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. And by the way, you can also follow our live video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio, on our YouTube channel, Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all again. This evening's edition is in two segments. The first segment, the Social Services Seniors Division is planning a Seniors Garden competition as part of its activities for 2025, and tonight we'll hear all about it and how you can participate and what's involved. And the second part of this, I will also have a second segment to the program. But first, Trudy Prentice, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert, and good evening, viewers.
And we have also Jamaica Morton with us. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And Quincy Bad.
Good evening, everyone.
It's good to have you all. So I've just mentioned that you're the Seniors, Social Services Seniors Division. You're obviously staff there?
Jamaican area staff, and Quincy is from the Department of Agriculture.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, it makes sense because we're having a garden competition, right?
Yes, so we need somebody.
We need professional guidance.
Definitely.
Okay, there you go. All right, so why don't we first, though, because not everybody knows, the Seniors Division, what do we do there?
The Seniors Division is a part of the Ministry of Social Empowerment. Is a part of the Social Services Department in Nevis. The Seniors Division looks after the cases of senior citizens throughout the island of Nevis. We assist seniors in different ways, and we also have a social services seniors recreational group, and that is where we get involved the active seniors on the island of Nevis to come out and not stay at home and get bored and want something else to do. The Social Services Seniors Division also has community caregivers, and these wonderful ladies, we have no gentlemen unfortunately, go throughout the island of Nevis on a daily basis to visit the seniors, check up on them, see what's going on with them, and sometimes if they see that there's an issue that needs to be reported, they report it to the office, and then we'll try to deal with it the best way that we can.
So let's get into, now that we've done that, let's get into what we're here and what we're all about this evening. Anyone can go first. Before
we talk about the garden competition, Mr. Herbert, I would first of all like to say Happy Social Workers Day, because today is Social Work Day. And we are the Seniors Division, so I want to say Happy Social Work Day to every social worker on the island of Nevis, our sister island St. Kitts, and also all the other social workers throughout the diaspora. We are celebrating today under the theme, Strengthening Intergenerational Solidarity for Enduring Well-Being. And so I just want to take this opportunity to wish everybody who is a social worker and who takes part in social work, in whatever means that is possible, Happy Social Work Day from the Ministry of Health, Gender Affairs and Social Empowerment, ITAL. Also, I want to take this opportunity to invite out all the seniors on Nevis to a conference we'll be having tomorrow at Malcolm Gishard Park. It starts at 10 a.m. It's a conference on something that is very troubling, not only for the seniors, but also for all of us. It's the impact of climate change. And so we want persons to come out, especially if you have an older person living with you, and you want to get some information about how to deal with them, to come on out and be a part of that session. Ask your question at the Malcolm Gishard Park at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And now I'm going to turn over to Jamaica to speak about something else that we have coming up.
Okay, good evening everyone. So as you guys know, the Agriculture Fair or the Agro Express Fair would be on the 27th and the 28th of March, and the seniors would be having a booth there. And on Thursday we would have a menu that consists of breakfast and lunch. And just an idea about the menu for breakfast, we have Johnny cakes, both baked and fried, saltfish fritters, conch fritters, green salad, boiled eggs, baked chicken, stewed shellfish, and fried fish. We'll also have bush tea or iced tea, and the cost of that would be $20 easy. And for lunch we'll have a variety of soup. That would be bean soup, chicken soup, bullfoot soup, and fish soup, and the price for that is $20. And on Friday we'll have the same breakfast menu, and for lunch we'll have cook up with pork, cook up without pork, and cook up with mackerel, and the price varies from $15 to $20.
And now Mr. Bart is going to talk about the garden competition, and we'll join in with him.
Yes, good night everyone. Are you a senior in St. Kitts and Nevis with a green thumb? Or maybe you just enjoy a beautiful blooming garden? Then get ready to showcase your talent in the annual Senior Garden Competition hosted by Social Services Senior Division. This is your time to shine. We're inviting all senior citizens 65 and over to participate either individually or in a group setting. Showcase your artistic side in our most beautiful garden category. Grow fresh fruits and vegetables in our vegetable garden category. Get creative in growing in containers with our most creative container garden category, or prioritize accessibility in the most accessible garden. And the last category, embrace eco-friendly practices in our sustainable garden category. Judges will be looking for overall appearance of the garden, plant health, variety, creativity, accessibility, and sustainability. And there are fantastic prizes to be won, such as gift cards, local seedlings, plants, garden tools, and many more. But it's just not only a competition. We are also hosting fun activities. Learn how to propagate plants, start seedlings, identify different species, composting, and many more activities at a later date. Don't worry if you're a new gardener. This is a community sharing and enjoy the beauty of nature. We prioritize safety and provide accommodations for you. Registration starts the 17th of March and ends on the 17th of April. So seniors of Nevis, let your garden bloom and your spirits soar. join the senior garden competition and celebrate the joy of gardening. For further information, please contact the Senior Citizens Division at the Social Services.
Our contact number is 469-5521 extension 6299 or extension 2045.
Okay, so that's the garden competition, how people can register. But is it for everybody on the island?
Yes, Mr. Herbert.
And what's the time period?
The judging will start in July 2025, but if you need some assistance before then and you have registered, you just give us a call and we'll see how we can assist you.
So you mean you can wait till July to have the garden?
No. You have to register between yesterday, the 17th, and the 17th of April. So you have 1 month registration.
And the judging period would be in July.
Right, so what if I had a garden which is 5 years old? Can that be a part of the competition?
No, Mr. Herbert, you'll have to put in some new crops.
Oh, really?
Yes, Mr. Herbert.
So,
If you have a garden and the plants look kind of rusty or they need some kind of care, you can enter your garden in the competition, but you have to get something, liven them up.
no, I'm not, as Edric would say, I'm not following you. So, you
You may have a beautiful rose garden, Mr. Herbert, but you know the rose will need a little bit of trimming, or you need a little bit, what they call it, grooming. Maintenance for you to come into the competition.
Okay, let me put it this way. Some people, whether there's a competition or not, grow gardens, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if those persons have gardens all day, all year long, daily, for
Yes.
instance, weekly
Yes.
and monthly, they have gardens.
Yes.
Okay. Now I hear about this competition and I like to enter.
Of course.
I have no garden, but I have space.
Right.
So I start out from scratch. With, as you said, hypothetically, some dead plants. Dead looking. No, that's funny.
Go ahead, Mr.
Why does... See, you think it's time for a light moment.
Yeah. Let me help out Miss
Okay, do that.
Prentice. For instance, if you have a existing garden, first you have to decide what category you want to enter. For instance, you want to enter into the containerized garden, and you have some containers already, whether it's they are hanging baskets, raised beds, or pots. You can enter the garden, so you just have to rearrange yourself in that category. Or if you already have like a fruit tree orchard that bearing fruits, you just do your general maintenance to rehabilitate them in that set period of time to enter.
Okay, I'm following you there.
Yes.
So that will be like a category.
Yes, so you just decide what category. We have about 5 categories. If you have a permanent fixture garden, you could say, all right, I want to go into the accessibility category. So you'll be looking at how you arrange your garden. So we're looking at the pathways of your garden, your agronomic practices, all of those things you can enter to see in that category. Let's see, sustainable gardens. So for instance, you're a creative person, you can use, for instance, you have maybe your garden connected to a cistern, and that cistern, whether you use gravity feed or have a pump, and you pump the water into your garden, you do composting and those type of things. So that would bring you into the sustainable garden category. So all of those things you have to decide. All right, I already have something. What can I work with? Or if you don't have nothing at all, you can build yourself up to that.
Okay, so you have a startup for a person like me.
Yes.
Who just want to be in it. So I can from tomorrow start a garden.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Whether
So I'll be
it's
in
vegetables,
I'll be in-
flowers, or fruits.
Okay, so what category I will be in?
You will
In that
decide
regard.
if you want to be in the vegetable or the fruit or the sustainable or the container.
Right, but what I'm getting at, so you don't have a category for new people just
Yes.
getting in. Right, so a lot of people sell plants. We're having the agricultural exhibition or expo coming up soon. They normally sell a lot of plants there. Can I buy a set of plants, fix it,
Definitely.
which are growing already, which don't look dead, and fix up my own garden?
Yes, you
Yes.
can do that.
And what category will I go in that? A new startup, something like that?
No.
No?
The categories don't differentiate whether if you're beginner
year or-
or intermediate. You
Oh,
just
really?
get,
No.
yeah.
So, if I decide to go and buy some plants, and I'm a good arranger, and arrange them in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
nobody will say that I'm unfair or anything.
No.
No, no, no.
Okay.
What you have to be
Consistent.
is in the senior category, person who is 65 and above.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can, if you can be an individual, or you could be in a group as well.
Well, you see, that's what I miss, so it's good to ask questions because my technician here was looking as if she was getting excited about entering.
No.
I don't even know if she reached the stage of juniors yet. So it's okay. So I got the impression, I hope it was only me, and misunderstood. I thought it was just like the competition is organized by the seniors division and it's for anybody, seniors, juniors, anything. So this is for seniors.
Just
This
for
is for
seniors.
seniors.
We're
I-
trying to get the seniors.
Now I got you.
And it doesn't matter if you're a part of our group. Once you're living in Nevis, you can join.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
seniors.
So we got that clear now.
So the categories, Mr. Herbert, are the vegetable. If you want to do a vegetable garden, you can do that. A vegetable garden will be on the variety and quality of vegetables grown, as well as the overall presentation and productivity of the garden. Then we have the most beautiful flower garden. I think you were highlighting about that before. If some person could have a garden but doesn't have any appeal, it'll pass by like, ooh. But some persons have some very beautiful flowers, so you have to say,
Oh,
in the
really?
past the garden, yeah. And then you have the most creative container garden, because some seniors, because of their age and the restrictions, they're not able to go in the physical garden anymore, and so they would have maybe containers around the house on the porch, so they can do their gardening in those containers.
Is there a specific day for judging? Meaning that what happens if when is the thing? July?
July, yes.
Okay, so what happens in June? If in June you were, for instance, not
If your garden is ready,
yeah, it's looking beautiful in June, and then I'm a kind of realistic person. What's happening if goat get in your garden now?
well, we'll be doing checks before the end of the
okay.
competition, so we'll have that in mind. So
Okay,
if
so
in
if-
June we saw you and we know you had beauty, in July we would not disqualify you.
Okay, so if goat
But-
get in your garden, that's not a problem.
No.
But is a problem though in real life?
It's a problem for me, Mr. Herbert.
Oh, okay. But you see, and you know that's reality.
That's the reality.
That's
the reality. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be going at intervals to check these gardens, so you won't be. Miss Herbert, I don't want you to come and tell me in July. But Miss Prentice, I had a beautiful garden in June, but I never saw the garden in June, so I cannot say, well, you had a garden.
Yeah, makes
so we'll
sense.
be checking at intervals to make sure this person is on target, the garden is looking the way, and if they want a little help, then we call Mr. Bat. Say, Mr. Bat, you need to go across with Mr. Herbert, you need some help over there. I don't know if you're not putting in the right amount of fertilizer, less water, whatever, so you can get the assistance that he needs to bring the garden up to scratch.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you. Mm-hmm. So what else we got in reference to that, and what else persons need to know in terms of, you
They
know,
need to know where they can come to sign up. You sign up at the Social Services Department, or you can sign up at the Ministry of Social Empowerment, down where the old administration building was, or you can go to the Department of Agriculture. We're going to have registration form at those three places. And please sign up before the 17th of April. Do not come in on the 23rd of April and say, but I'll be here about it. It will be too late. If there's going to be an extension to the registration period, we will let them know via the Von radio station. So you're always helping us in some way, Mr. Herbert.
and the persons, I know we have Mr. Bat here, who is from the Department of Agriculture. Can they get help if
Yes.
they need,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
pointers and so on?
Yes.
Okay, so how can they do that?
So they go by the Department of Agriculture. Each parish have a district where an extension officer can assist them. For instance, if someone's living in Cotton Ground, there's an officer there assigned to Cotton Ground, and they will help and assist you for any technical advice pertaining to agriculture. And there's myself as well too.
Okay, so that's all we have for today. This evening, what else we got?
That's about it, Mr. Herbert. I want to read the guidelines for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to ask you before you read. You said the competition has been declared open already.
Yes.
People can start. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. We want persons to know. Can you see the other paper? This one. When you sign up, remember we're looking for the most beautiful flower garden. We'll be looking for the best vegetable garden. We'll be looking for the most creative container garden, the most accessible garden, and we are looking for gardens that are sustainable. And the grading criteria overall are Jamaica Wheel.
Overall appearance, plant health, variety, creativity, accessibility, and sustainability.
And persons, seniors, there are many attractive prizes to be won. And we don't want you to enter just because you're going to win a prize, We want you to show Mr. Herbert that as a senior citizen, you can still do your garden and effectively. And so that the younger persons in the community, I think sometimes we kind of look down on gardening, sadly. And so this is something really to really pique interest in the overall Nivision community on the importance of gardening.
But we used to do that, right? A lot. No? We never used to have beautiful gardens. without instigating a competition. Everybody used to have a garden.
Everybody had a garden, Mr. Herbert.
We had a beautiful one here when we started out for a couple of years.
What happened?
We got goat in the garden. We got, and you know, after a while you got weird. As a matter of fact, when we had the 50th last year, Culturama, so we had did some special program, and we brought back a mix, you know, put a team together, new and old, everything in between. And some of the guys who started and live abroad, afar, who hadn't come for a while, they asked about the garden.
Oh, wow.
Because when, you know, we started first, that was one of the attractions. People used to come. And so goat, that's a big problem.
A big problem, Mr. Herbert.
Okay, there you go.
I don't want to start talking about the goat problem tonight that I have.
In fact, a fellow who had a lot of goats at the time, he came and in a very serious, thoughtful manner, he gave me a remedy, and he told me what I should do is to get some barbed wire. Because you know goats, they go under.
Over.
Over too?
Yeah, man.
Most of them go under.
Jump the fence.
Oh yeah, but most of them go under, right? And so he is telling me to run some barbed wire to the bottom, right? And I looked at him. Why does everybody think that I'm, you know? So I just asked him, so in other words, I should buy some barbed wire, put under there to keep your goats out.
Okay.
He told me, yeah. So this goat in the garden is a big problem.
It's a big problem, Mr. Herbert.
So maybe I'll drop that one tomorrow. Can I make a note of it? Yeah, but on a more, you know, serious note though, it's the equivalent of, you know, a lot of people are discouraged also in planting stuff because of the monkeys. You got a monkey problem as well.
Mr. Herbert, the goats are worse than the monkeys.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
The monkeys eat 1 and 2. The goats eat everything down
Oh
flat.
boy. There's no way around them.
No way around it.
Okay, well, I guess we still got to push forward, you know.
Yes.
Don't be discouraged. Okay, so that's set for when again? The competition?
So the opening period is from the 17th of March until the 17th of April, and the judging period is in July.
And that's all seniors across the
Yes,
island?
once you
All
are
seniors.
65 and over.
Well, what happened if you're 65 but you look like more like 40? You still qualify as a senior?
Yes, you bring your ID when you're
Given the
registered.
information on the application, then yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what's your final word?
Come on out and support the seniors booth on the 27th and the 28th of March at the Agriculture Fair and participate in this garden competition.
And Mr. Bart, your final words?
Yes. So I would like to encourage all seniors to come on out. And they might have some challenges, but don't be afraid. There's help. So register, and you'll be amazed in what you can do.
And Trudy?
My first final word, Mr. Herbert, is to tell you thank you very much for having us here this evening. And if the word is not too clear to those who are listening, we'll be coming back to you for another edition so that they can understand the importance of participating in this garden competition.
What's the prizes? Did we talk about that?
Yes,
We talk about lots of prizes
Oh, okay. So we got lots
and
of prizes.
surprises.
Oh, really? Okay, well, sounds like it's going to be fun. So let's encourage everybody to.
And Mr. Herbert, please get your garden going for the garden competition right outside there at One Radio site. I'm sending the invitation to you over the airways so the whole world can hear.
What is she
And when they ask if Mr. Herbert entered, I'll be proud to tell them yes, he did.
So you think I should get a garden ready?
Yes,
Once
Mr.
you are
Herbert.
qualified.
Walk with me, and you can guarantee me that no goats will go in it.
I can guarantee you that you can start. I will
okay.
come and check on it.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. Always good to speak with you guys, and tell all the seniors hello. I'd like to be among them, you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
a bunch of good guys.
Wonderful.
And every year, Mr. Evelyn, bring them here along with yourself and all that. So we appreciate you. All right, so that's it. We will be moving on to our second segment right after this. This is Thought That Get Results. First segment, the Social Services Seniors Division planning a Seniors Garden competition as part of the activities for 2025. You're a senior? Get in touch with the division and find out how you can participate. Lots of prizes, and they also add surprises. Back after these.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
From religion to politics, from sports to our cultural heritage. If it concerns the community, let's talk about it. It's not just talk. In-depth interviews, discussions, issues, and different opinions. It's both sides of the story and the lighter side of life. Webbo Herbert hosts Let's Talk.
Join the show at its prime time hour, Tuesday evenings at 7.
On the Powerhouse. Fun.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results. Our first segment featured Quincy Bart, Jamaica Morton and Trudy Prentice. They're planning a Social Services Seniors Division, planning a Seniors Garden competition as part of its activities for 2025, and then inviting all seniors to participate. So you can check that out. The second segment, Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a special good evening to all those who are listening and viewing near and far. Good evening to my fellow panelists. And Webbo, thanks for the invitation yet again. I want to say a shout out, Webbo, to all those who will be celebrating. I think tomorrow, my mother-in-law Estelle, happy birthday. She'll be celebrating tomorrow. My president in the Jammer Group, Mr. Jovan Swanston, he'll be celebrating tomorrow. Happy birthday, guys. Hope you have a wonderful one. On Thursday, Moria would be celebrating. Happy birthday, Moria. And happy birthday to all those who will be celebrating for the rest of the month, Webbo. Webbo, I want to say to those who might be mourning, to be strong. Pray to God. God will give you some comfort and see you through your most difficult period. Webbo, just before I say that, Webbo, with your permission, Webbo, the Jerry and Ursula Fifield Eastern Memorial Camp, we will be having a break for sale this coming Saturday, the 22nd right opposite the Gingerland Secondary School. We would be there. We have, I think the breakfast is $20 if I can recall. And we'll be doing some delivery in and around the Gingerland area. That would cost just $5. So we're asking to support. It's for a worthy cause. Our camp is an annual camp that we've been hosting for a number of years. So we're asking you kindly to come out this Saturday. Starts at 6 a.m. So we're asking you to come out. Webbo, looking forward as per usual for a fruitful discussion. Also asking persons viewing and listening to call. It's an interactive program. Of course, we can learn something from you, and I'm sure you can learn something from us. And tonight, as I said, I'm looking forward for yet another fruitful discussion. Thank you once again, Webbo, for your invitation. Happy to be here.
The Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to your hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio. Good evening to all those who are listening and viewing, whether they are here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, throughout the region, wherever they may be, in North America, South America, Europe, wherever. Let me say a very pleasant good evening to you. Webbo, I want to join with my fellow panelists to, from the outset, thank you for your invitation tonight. I am indeed looking forward to tonight's discussion. I believe you would have had a very interesting first segment with our social services workers. And we can speak a bit more on that, but we can also put a few things on the table. Webbo, I want to take this opportunity as well to offer my sincere condolences to all those families who are in mourning tonight, those who are here on the island of Nevis in St. Kitts, and I believe, Webbo, that the entire region would by now would have heard of the tragic and awful incident which took place in Antigua recently of the murder of a 9-year-old schoolgirl. I can only imagine the pain and the suffering of the family. I know that the community is really up in a roar, Webbo, over this incident. I've been looking at some of the online videos and things that have been happening there in Antigua on this incident, and I know it's a very tragic and sad situation there over the murder of this 9-year-old school child. Webbo, I want to say to all those who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I hope that they are having a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I hope that they are enjoying themselves. On my way here, I noticed that for the last few days, the moon have been out in all its glory. And just as I was about to leave home, I realized that those 2 stranded astronauts was able to make a splashdown there, back on Earth, after being stuck in space for, I believe, some 9 months. So, Webbo, I am thankful for this opportunity, and I want to say to all those who are listening and viewing, this is your show. We want to thank you for allowing us in your homes, on your job, in your vehicle. We hope that what we say here can help to uplift someone, can help to motivate someone, and if at any point you feel that we are saying something that you can shed some light on, we certainly welcome your input. So, Webbo, I want to thank you, and I'm indeed looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Conrad Naya Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my colleagues around the table, and to your staff here at Vaughan Radio, and to all in tune to this wonderful program. Webbo, it's International or Regional Social Day, so I just want to wish tip my hat to the social workers. They're so important to the working of the community, and especially in the efforts to assist the elderly. And it's actually an area of employment that a lot of people should think more serious of, really, because they are so much in demand, really. And so I just want to say thank you to them in particular. I could remember the role they play in my mom's life, and I'm sure a lot of us can testify in that regards. The things they do to assist the elderly, and the functions they keep to keep their mind active, very, very important. And so I'm happy that you had them tonight, and I hope that the exercise of the garden competition would be of success, really. You got to be over 65, so it's really just for some. But it's a good thing in the sense that, they can be a little self-sufficient and plant something a little healthy and so forth. So it's a good thing. Webbo, I'm very happy to be here once again discussing all these issues that are affecting the people. And as Mr. Brand say, I hope when we leave here, we can be closer to some solutions to the very difficult situations sometimes that we are dealing with, that we are experiencing, not just here but regionally, as there was a gruesome murder in Antigua, and on the sister island there was some lawyers who seems to fall foul of the law, and so we are dealing with extreme circumstances from people who you don't expect to be in certain places, and so I hope that this program can bring freedom to people's mind also, that they can call in and participate and improve our democratic process, I suppose, to erase the fear of the consequence of being vocal, and sometimes wondering if that's a suppressive way as it relates to freedom of speech. That is a big matter now in the US. They say Donald Trump is erasing that very privilege that should be, of course, owned by every individual according to the Constitution of America, and our Constitution as well. Freedom of speech and the suppression of journalism. We see a lot of that going on in Israel. A lot of journalists being killed, a lot of journalists being arrested. We live in a world of turmoil today, and the very principles that we think keep things afloat seems to be withering away, to be replaced by, and sometimes I wonder if it's just a return to historical places that we once were, and you wonder if that's the way the world turns, and there will be a time again when people are more free and the human rights values will be more respected globally. And so Webbo, so many issues, I suppose, and I'm happy to be a part of this conversation. Once again, thank you for inviting me, Webbo. Thank you.
I see Mr. Brand edge a little closer to the mic. You have something, Mr. Brand?
I just wanted to say that yesterday the cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration and the federal cabinet would have had a joint cabinet meeting, and I thought that the conversation and discussion very timely, frank, open, and I believe that as the Premier would have indicated in his opening remarks, that having a conversation, having that dialogue is important, even though that we may have different views on certain issues. But I thought that the accomplishment of that joint cabinet meeting yesterday on St. Kitts was timely. I believe that we were able to accomplish a lot. I believe in the coming days and perhaps weeks, both leaders would perhaps update the nation as to what were some of the outcomes of that joint cabinet meeting. But Webbo, I just thought that it was a very open, free, frank conversation. And I believe that it put both governments on a path of what I would call mutual respect, or improve mutual respect and better understanding. And I feel that both leaders, Webbo, I felt struck a tone and a chord that I feel that going forward we can see greater unity amongst not only the government of the Federation of St. Kitts and the Nevis, but also with the Nevis Island administration. So I just wanted to say, Webbo, that I felt that it was a very good joint cabinet. I believe that the takeaways from it, and I believe that the goals and objectives that were set, I think were achieved, and I would expect that both leaders would give a much more comprehensive update as to what would have transpired. But for me, as a member of the Nevis Island administration, elected representative of St. Paul's, Charlestown, I believe that our voices were heard around the table, and I think that both leaders would have stated their position on various issues. And I feel that at the end of the day, Webbo, the conversation was what I felt was extremely important, and I believe that this is a step. This is the second such joint cabinet meeting. The first one was held in Nevis last year, and I felt that building on that first joint cabinet, we can continue to see that closer collaboration between both governments in the best interest, Webbo, of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's good. So things seems to be going well in that respect. I want to congratulate both governments, the island administration and the federal government. And as you say, the conversation, the event, I suppose, is very important. Very important. We're so close, and I'm wondering why only two so far. But I do understand, I suppose discussion can go on all the time because we are close. But I would just wonder why two in how many years? In 2 years? It should be a little more. Because we got things to say, I suppose, and the people expect that you will have things to say as it relates to representing the Nevis concern. It's a mighty thing, It's not just easy. It does have its historical bearings, and I feel happy when that is happening. I of course would like to know the outcome of such meetings. I would like to know the issues that's being discussed and so forth. As we know, we are going down a road which is very I would say historic, because here we have Nevis being a major player in something which seems to be a well-renowned fact. And it looks like we are front and center as it relates to global conversation and sustainability in small islands because of our geothermal initiative. I'm very happy that that discussion's been had, and I'm very anxious to hear the outcome because there will be a lot of ears sticking up to hear what would be the dealings as it relates to the revenues from the geothermal. Of course, we know it's a federal project, and one would think that if it's going to be ruled by what's in the Constitution, normally things like that, being a federal project, will be ruled based on what's in the Constitution, and it's quite it's a little unsettling and very unsettling for some. If that's the case, then we would be probably getting 33 cents out of the dollar for our geothermal here in the Federation. Is it 33 cents we get? Is it 33% we get from the sharing of the revenue? Well, okay, let's just say 33%. And so it's a very, very important concern for the people. The people really would like to see Nevis get more out of Nevis geothermal than Sinkis get. Here I'm talking of divisions, but when we want to say the Federation, it's a different thing, I suppose. And there's a constitution that binds us and stipulates. And I know recently there's been some kind of the World Bank have, as been said by the Prime Minister, and I suppose by now Mark Grantley have seen the report, because he said last week he didn't see the report, and of course the people got the impression that it's been, the report's been exposed to him, but he said he didn't see the report. So I suppose that was a part of the discussion. I'm not forcing you to release information that you're not ready to release. But so I'm anxious to hear, and the public I'm sure is very anxious to hear also. That said, I congratulate you guys once again, and we want to see more meetings going forward as we enter this well, we kind of exit the I used to describe it as the the geothermal back then was almost like a kind of circus thing, but now we're exiting that and seeing like we're going into realism with it, and so we just want to be filled an update with the what's going on in that respect.
Yeah. If I can chime in here, I want to congratulate both governments. I believe that it's better to have conversations than to have being confrontational. We understand that a government that is duly elected would reflect the wishes of the majority of the people. And if that holds, then we are saying that the Nevis Island administration, local government, would reflect the wishes of the majority on the island of Nevis. And we all know that the federal government is run by a Sinkits base party, although it's named differently. And for example, there are certain things that the federal government would have, for want of a better term, jurisdiction over on the island of St. Kitts and on the island of Nevis. For example, security, police. And I think it would be somewhat of a disrespect, even though you have the authority to just maybe jump up and say, I'm going to build a police station in Brown Pasture without consulting the government and the people of Nevis, who would, in my opinion, in a better position to say, well, where that particular police station, for example, would be built. So I believe with conversation instead of confrontation, things can go a lot smoother. There are so many things to trash out. You alluded to the geothermal as one. So we have to take these into consideration and see how best we can work together for the benefit of both islands.
Anybody realize how overly important it is as to who sits in what chair or who has certain authority? Let me go and make an example of the United States where everybody is comfortable to weigh in. You see, all of a sudden, it depended on who is in a certain position, that everything that seemed normal is not normal anymore. You have a new normal, basically. And then you can even argue, had things go another way, we would not have, because all of us here, I think, came up thinking that an education department or system is just a must. So, we just had the seniors on. Over time, you will think that taking care of the seniors is just automatic. The younger people also would think that getting access to this or that, as the case may be, is just natural. But all of a sudden, depending on who is there now, it does. Anybody has noticed that?
Yes.
And
yes.
The other thing I want to add is you now realizing how persons have to, the general public, each and every person now, have to think seriously about people who come now and say, I want to represent you. What fascinates me, generally speaking, is how, for instance, I don't even want to use any of you guys, but let me use, I normally could use Edric and he doesn't get upset or anything, but, so let me use Fifield. So if Fifield decides he now wants to run, he wants to run the country, or he wants to be a minister or something, then all of a sudden you're going to be hearing him saying how he loves his community so much, he's now giving away books and giving this and so on and so forth. And you begin to wonder how people can see through these things. This is a light moment. A fella told me all of a sudden he was running one time. And he came to me one day and he said, he is giving away to the indigent lunch and stuff like that. So I must give him, I should finish, to give the indigent. Those people are my partners, I take care of them all the time. So I must stop there, Mr. No, that's okay. No, I just wanted to put the idea for discussion, because that is what is affecting the world. The world thought that it was natural and normal to treat people fairly, regardless to where you were from and who you are. And all of a sudden we're finding out it doesn't take place naturally. It depends on who is there. And by the way, finally, anybody heard about Chuck Schumer lately? Anybody knows who he is? He's the minority leader in the Senate. for the Democrats.
Yes.
He was the majority leader before.
Yes.
So he decided to join with the Republicans.
To avoid the shutdown.
Okay. So you know the story. A week or two ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was wondering where are the Democrats? Because you're not hearing them fighting, and they're doing polls, and the Democrats persons are saying they're not fighting. All of a sudden, Schumer decided he's going to work with the Republicans so that they can pass the budget and don't have a shutdown of the government. And the Democrats came out for Schumer, their leader. And recently, they did that as well. Before that, their leader was called Biden. So I don't know if you all keep seeing the recurring decimal. Go ahead, Mr. Brand.
Well, you put a few things on the table, and one of the things that I would say to what you have said is, in a nutshell, election have consequences. One way or the other, good or bad, there will be some different pathway when it comes to the outcome of an election. I want to go back very quickly, Webbo, to a few things Naya said. I believe he said, why only two? In terms of two joint cabinet meeting that we have held so far. One of the reasons has been that we have really attempted to do it out more regularly, but because of one side or the other travel arrangement, different things happening, it has proven to be a challenge to even get all of the members together in one place at the same time. Even at this very same meeting, we had two members who were out of country, but I believe that we decided that the general census was that we have put this off and put it off because of, and they decided to go. You spoke about this 33 and a third percent, whatever the percentage is.
Yes.
But the reality is, Naya, Nevis have never. Well, let me put it this way: the constitution mechanism have never really worked, because the revenue that has collected in Sinkits has basically been used for Sinkit. The revenue that has been collected in Nevis has basically been used for Nevis. That has been the mechanism that has been operating under for almost all of our independent life. The issue has always been about the non-taxable revenue, the CBI, the grant, those kind of things. That has always been a main point of contention between both islands. Sinkits, in my mind, have never really argued for Nevis's tax revenue, and vice versa. But we have always had that bone of contention about the big ticket item, the revenue inflows, grant funding, donations, and so on coming into the Federation. That has been one of our main hurdle that we have fought and for many years. The Premier will be having his press conference on next Tuesday, and I know that wherever he is tonight, he is preparing a very comprehensive and detailed report to the people of Nevis. I would encourage all people to tune in and listen because if I know him well enough, he will try and be as detailed as possible. And I think that he will do that in his usual press conference on the 25th. I don't want to, as we would say, right. So I would allow him that of course he have his show tomorrow as well. He is the leader, and he can use whatever forum and platform that he has to advise and update. But I think generally the world is looking at St. Kitts and Nevis at the moment. The world is really supporting and encouraging and what I would say cheering on St. Kitts and Nevis at the moment when it comes to, especially on this geothermal project. Many countries are hoping and wishing and praying that this particular project in the Caribbean is successful, because I believe that it will demonstrate a number of things. It will demonstrate that two political parties, Labour Party and the CCM, who committed in the last election nothing to each other, who had no verbal or even written agreement to say that, but because of the various conversation and mutual respect and mutual understanding, that they have been able to continue the dialogue. And the Premier and the Prime Minister speaks very regularly. In my mind, from where I sit, it appears to me that both of them look as though they have what I would call an open door policy to each other. And I think that is very good, because it allows that level of cordiality and conversation to even blossom. So, a lot of support for St. Kitts and Nevis, especially on this geothermal. There are significant entities and organizations and individuals who are really wishing and hoping and praying that we will be able to see this over the line in the not too distant future. I believe that from the information that I'm seeing when it comes to this geothermal, it will be a game changer not only in St. Kitts and Nevis but throughout the region. I know Dominica is moving ahead. We have an opportunity in my mind to make perhaps the region an exporter of energy, right? And we have the opportunity in my mind to leverage perhaps our new position to achieve certain advancement for our people. And I think that it's an opportunity that I believe that both leaders recognize. I believe that they are astute enough to see the opportunity that is before the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I have no doubt in my mind that these two leaders will, for want of a better word, drop the ball for perhaps somebody else to continue. I believe that they will try and hold on to it as tight as they can to make sure that they can see it to completion. But I think it's an exciting time for the Federation, and we will just see what unfolds.
Let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Okay, the person has gone. Yeah. Please call back. Now, who wanted to get in to respond to Mr. Burns?
Well, certainly, it should be a game changer. I do hope that, well, I ain't going away. And so I expect to experience it. And for Nevis in particular to really be transformed. And we see some advantages and privileges to be asserted to this little island, And
I think the caller is back. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. You mentioned the fact that elections have consequences, but I don't think anyone could have predicted that one man can turn the world upside down like he's doing. And I'm referring to, of course, the United States, what's happening in the United States, and the ripple effect that the policies are having on the rest of the world. And we normally regard the U.S. as this bastion of democracy, etc. But if you look at what's happening seems more in line with what we expect of a dictator, where even the courts are going to be fought, right? And we don't know how this is going to end, but a lot of the principles that we had or thought were bedrock principles seem to be going out of the door. Look at how easily the war in Gaza has resumed. And they call it a war, I call it a slaughter, right? And everybody seems, the rest of the countries seems okay with that. I mean, 10 years ago, that would never have happened. And how quickly do we change this rules-based order to world order to something else? Now it seems like it's the might is right again. Okay? Because what's happening there, there's no justice. It's like justice has gone out the door now, and we wonder where it will end. So what I would say, well, the lessons for us, I would say, is that checks and balances are extremely important. And I'm not so sure we're on top of it when it comes to our checks and balances. Okay? You mentioned, for instance, the geothermal, and of course everybody wants it to be successful and so on. But I don't think it should be left to two leaders to bring to fruition. I think that a lot of what should happen, if in fact we get to the point where it's successful, a lot of what should happen after should be negotiated now in the open, and everybody knows what to expect. We don't want it to be successful and then we have some big fight over how it should be shared. Okay? And that's what I'm afraid of. We cannot rely, no matter how good the personal chemistry.
So Colin,
yeah.
And with that suggestion, how would you propose we should do it? The last point that you make in not just waiting, but put certain things in place. How you propose we do that?
Well, I would expect that there would be some kind of negotiations. It is, after all, a Nevis. Well, it's in Nevis. It's called a federal resource now. I don't know if everybody knows exactly what that means. Does it mean that...
What I mean was, so you're saying something will be put in place. For instance, hypothetically, you say, well, okay, this is so and so, and then this will be done this way, and you will get this, etc. Something like that.
Beforehand, yes.
Yeah, beforehand, right?
Yes.
And then,
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And obviously, negotiation would be involved.
Right. So, and then it's signed and stuff like that to show thing. Okay.
Regardless of to who is in power when it happens, we know that we have an agreement, and hopefully
Right. Okay. So you do that. You are around. You're old enough to know about something that called the Charleston Accord.
Yes.
You know whether that was signed or anything by anybody, and work with me or agreed to before and stuff like that. Do you know?
I thought you asked a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could consider that an official agreement.
Oh, okay, so not...
That was an agreement between parties, not...
Right, so, well, I'm just asking, so not something like that?
No, definitely.
Okay, so that...
Definitely not.
Right, so that was not official?
No, I don't regard that as official.
Okay,
that was something transient between parties, which can change.
Okay.
Alliances can change.
Right.
Individuals in the parties can change.
Yeah, I got you. So walk with me. So how do you propose to do it so that you don't end up with a problem like that?
Well, like I said, it has to be negotiation.
Negotiation was there before. So what?
No. Between official government people.
No, you disconnected me. You know Edric Stanley?
Yes.
He used to disconnect me now and then, but not in a bad way. Is because
when I say official, you're questioning what I mean by official. I'm saying right now, Nevis has representation in terms of the Premier and the NIA.
Okay, so you're saying that this thing that you're talking about, the agreement and so on and so forth, must be signed by like Premier and Prime Minister and ministers and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Then
walk with me. Walk with me. Then it's official. Huh?
Yes.
Okay. So when the personnel change now, and then Naya is now the minister or the prime minister, and he said, "Me no want that." Then what?
But you have an agreement.
Oh.
Don't you?
Oh.
You have an agreement. That's what I'm saying. It's not between two poor people.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you know of any agreements that were done officially, and when the personnel in government change, that changed too?
I think in terms of the revenue sharing that the Constitution suggested, that was not adhered to, right?
No, I don't know. I'm just asking, because remember, that's all I can do, you know. I'm just asking if there is anything that you know of. I
don't know if the others can corroborate this, but I suspect that the original revenue sharing agreement was not adhered to. But you see, the difference there was that because both sides seem okay with the change that was done, it didn't cause so much of a rift. But if one side opted to challenge it, whether in courts or wherever, it could have caused a problem. And I'm saying that we don't want to go down that route. We don't want to risk that with something like that.
All I'm trying to get from your caller, for my own understanding, and the other folks who may not understand, because I really like your idea, so I want to know, clearly what to do so that we can get the particular results that we are looking for.
Well, I would certainly like it to be more transparent than it is now. I would not like it to be between two individuals who may not be around for any length of time to see this through. Okay? So that's why I want the transparency. I want other people involved.
Other people like who?
Well, for one thing, I mean, that's the ideal, to me that would be an ideal topic for things like town hall, so that as many people as possible get involved. So there is more buy-in from the public.
So in other words, if you have town hall meetings and discussions and all sorts of things, then everybody who's at the town hall meeting sign? Or work with me. So then it wouldn't end up with the same two people, Prime Minister or Premier, to sign?
Eventually, yes. But at least you have the input. At least they have a pulse of what the people are thinking.
Okay.
Rather than leave it just to these two, or even just the federal government and the NIA, their ideas.
So you're saying right now how it is, you get the feeling that it's just those two ideas and they don't have the pulse of the rest of the people.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I honestly don't think so.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. No, Fifield, go ahead.
Webbo, as I said earlier, Webbo, when individuals are elected, most individuals run on a party ticket, and you would campaign, or you ought to campaign on issues. People would vote for you based on the issues and the confidence that they have in you to go to Parliament and other forums.
Let me
to
get
make
this Fifield. I'll come back to you. Thank you for holding. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Webbo.
Yes.
Nice. Yes, I think the agreement the caller is talking about is like, remember we went to Taiwan under Simmons in the 80s. Then Douglas came in the 90s. That agreement still remained with us and Taiwan. Timothy came in later on. We still stuck with Taiwan. Okay? Same thing with OECS again. I think the caller was speaking about that type of agreement that regardless of who sits in Charlestown and who sits in Bastille, that whatever geothermal agreement has been arranged, that is what we will work with and so forth.
Caller, you mentioned Taiwan, correct?
Yes, yes.
You heard the Premier say the other day that the current Prime Minister asked him, this thing continues from Simmons and so on. You heard the Premier say that the current Prime Minister asked him, Mr. Premier, did you know that we just get these donor monies from these friendly countries for St. Kitts and Nevis?
Right,
work with me. You know about that? You heard the Premier say that?
I heard it, yes.
Okay. So you're talking about agreements like those?
No.
So that
wait. I'm talking about the agreement with us having a relationship with Taiwan.
Okay, not
all the latter if they send a grantee or a grantee.
You're not talking about those?
No, we're talking about with
okay, so
Taiwan.
Right, so you don't want it to be an agreement like that?
No,
right.
You understand what I'm saying.
No, well that's what I'm trying to hello. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what the discussion is about. It's called a discussion.
Right.
So that work with me, so that when I don't understand,
good,
I ask question so that you can clarify.
So let me put you.
So what I'm asking you is, the point that I raised, the example, you don't want those kind of agreements.
No, I want the agreement where we have a relationship with Taiwan. But even if government change, you realize over the years government change and we switch and say we done with Taiwan and gone China, mainland.
Okay, so how would you get those kind of agreements and not the others? Where
to be honest, I don't know what document was signed, because look at it, even with the OEC, you realize no Prime Minister has said, look, we are going to back out of the OEC. So I think that's the kind of binding agreement we need with this geothermal thing. So regardless whether it is Mark Bradley in Nevis or Terrence doing St. Kitts or Spencer Brand in Nevis and somebody else in St. Kitts or Johnny in Nevis and somebody in St. Kitts, this agreement is between the two islands, not between two parties or two individuals.
Yeah, but work with me. Do you know of any agreements that we have between two islands currently that don't seem to work in practicality?
Don't seem to work?
Yeah.
Elaborate.
You said that what we want is agreements like between two islands that regardless to who is in charge, it continues, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you if you know of any that are in place but don't seem to work the way it is constructed.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, so all the agreements that you know between the two islands are working the way it is written to work?
Which 12 are you specifically talking about St. Kitts and Nevis?
Oh, I thought was these we're talking about.
No, what was
Oh, we're talking about the St. Kitts and Nevis.
I was giving an example of a type of an agreement that
So-
I think the geothermal should follow.
And the geothermal we are referring to is the geothermal in Dominica and Montserrat?
No, but the geothermal.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you.
Before I go though, I would like to ask Mr. Brother question. Was the World Bank document, the fair share document, was it discussed and it talked about it came up in the joint cabinet meeting? Was the Nevis end given a copy of the actual document that the Premier spoke about at his last press conference? Have a good evening, fella.
Okay, thank you. I don't know. You have authority to hello. You got authority to say what took place in cabinet meeting. Good, good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo.
Yes. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes, you like to have fun with people. Anyway.
And you don't.
But any agreement between singular leaders to give it power, need to sign the document and then take it to the house. And then pass it in there. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, I was saying, whatever agreement that the discussion, when both parties decide and agree on it, they take it to the house.
Okay.
Everybody debate it and pass a bill on it. Simple.
Okay. And then when Mr. Brand is not there and Naya take over, can he go and amend that bill to put it how you would like it?
Well, that's another discussion.
Oh, down the scoreboard. I think you could be a heavyweight. I think you thought this time of a light moment, didn't it?
Yeah, that's no.
Yeah, I got you.
As time evolves, sometimes
I got
some little tweaks need to be done.
Yeah,
so.
I got you. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's 5 years. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying, Webbo, that we elect persons who we have confidence in to make certain decisions on our own, on their own, on behalf of us. It is not everything that the ministers would come back to the populace with. If they were to, then nothing would basically happen, or it would happen at a really slow, a snail pace. So we have to understand that, and we have to understand that regardless of what, any official documents such as what was talked about or is being talked about would be signed in this particular reference, would be signed by the Prime Minister and the Premier.
With the full support of both cabinets.
And exactly, and with the full support of both administrations, bearing in mind that the electorate and Nevis would have voted for the Concerned Citizens Movement, and for the Concerned Citizens Movement to act and to perform in the best interests of all divisions, and vice versa on St. Kitts. And I think it is a little more technical because the federal government is basically the government for St. Kitts Nevis, but we understand how it works practically. So, and you're right, as you rightfully said, Mr. Herbert, even if this was supposed to go into Parliament tomorrow, I mean, it could be changed. It could be changed. It could, most laws that are on the books need 2/3. 2/3, sorry. So these are things that can be changed. It's just for people to be mature, people to be respectful. If it is working for the benefit of the populace, well, so be it. If we could tweak it so it could work better, then we tweak it so it can work better. But I do not believe that it should be changed simply because that it wasn't me who put it in place and I am now here, so I am going to change it. To me, that if that is what happening, if that is what's supposed to happen, then that is to me childish and being petty. You must be mature, you must be, have a level of understanding, to deal with people and to put yourself behind and put people first, country above self. And I believe if we think that way, and we not just think, but we think and we act that way, St. Kitts Nevis could be a much better place. It could be living in more harmonized than we are now.
I think Nevis is always, asking for better treatment, really, and rightly so. So it's not about us, really. It's almost about them, and I don't want to sound like that way, running a big river through, the two islands. So it's about them really adhering to, and what you said, Mr. Fifield, being decent-minded people. But let's face the facts, and we have not been happy campers historically up to quite recently, and we're probably not still at this point not happy campers as it relates to what Mr. Brantley always talk about, the fair share. Not always about revenue sharing, but about equal opportunity and opportunity to represent home and abroad. Mention just being made of grants from Taiwan. Mr. Brantley seems to be introduced to that at a very late stage of his political life, but it seems to be happening all the time to the federal government, really. But Nevis have been missing out of that, it sounds like to me. But it's important that we have not just an understanding, but an understanding that is long-lasting and satisfying by both administration. And I know, yes, the Premier and the Prime Minister would have to be the one representing the people. But certain matters, you have to be very transparent. And to go back to the people, it should never be a big problem in terms of making them being a part of it. I know that can lead to deadlock in many cases, and waste of time sometimes. But this is very fundamental at this point in terms of sharing the revenue that comes from the geothermal. And I'm talking, by the way, because of course there's a constitution.
Let me get this, I'll get back to you. Thank you for holding. Good evening.
Yeah, I just want to understand how can St. Kitts and Nevis be receiving grants and the Premier of Nevis doesn't know about it? Doesn't that speak to a lack of transparency even at parliamentary level? Doesn't things like that appear in budget debates and the estimates and those kinds of things? I find that really hard to accept, and that just proves that we really need something more broad-based when it comes to agreements like this. I mean, obviously I take the point that it's not everything you're going to go back to the people with. After all, we elect them to represent our interests. But something as fundamental as this, okay, which can cause so much problems in the future, need to have public support, and at least initially, and even if subsequently it's tweaked, as was said, okay, don't make it that easy to tweet, so that we don't have a back and forth all the time. All right.
Caller, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What you're saying there depend on the personnel, do you think? Not necessarily on what is written or what is in law. You think the personnel that executes it is of paramount importance?
Well, we don't want it to be. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but that's what you don't want. You don't want.
No, that's what you don't want.
Work with me. You don't want any rain to fall tonight. But it rains, said then what?
No. We can design systems
that the rain don't fall.
Take into account the fact. We're not talking rain here.
Yeah, but you're not working with me. I'm asking you, right? If you don't want any rain to fall, but then rain falls, then what? It unfalls because you didn't want it to fall?
No, and what I'm saying is that, to me, that's a bad analogy. What I'm saying is we can design systems that take into account, whether we call it frailties or immaturity or whatever you want to call it, of individuals, because it do exist. We can design systems that, regardless of these people, we may not be able to 100% to get it right, but regardless of the type of persons that you have signing these agreements and so on, that they remain in place.
That's a great idea, caller. That's a great idea. And in view of that, might I ask, do you know of any examples of those systems?
Well, the Constitution generally. We've had a Constitution that has remained in effect all this time. Yes, there have been lots of bumps and so on, and yes, it needs to be adjusted in.
Well, why would it needs to be adjusted if then that doesn't fit under what you're talking about?
It does. After 40-something years, of course.
What I'm saying is, do you know of any examples that will give you what you are asking for?
I just told you. You design the Constitution.
So
you make changes.
So you have
bring about the things.
So you have the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have any problems with it.
No, I have a problem with the Constitution.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. But it's called a Constitution.
Yeah, and it's difficult to change.
But you are now saying, let us build a system that is like a Constitution, notwithstanding it will have its faults as well.
Right, because we don't want it to be able to change willy-nilly. Right, we want it to be enduring.
Okay.
Right? There's nothing wrong with some flexibility and so on being built in, but generally speaking, you want something that's going to make things stable.
Do you know of anything currently, apart from the Constitution and laws, that need to be put in place that can be changed easily like a Constitution?
Yeah.
Which one?
Clause 113, I believe it should stay there. But I think it should have one too. How about that?
I don't know about it. I ask you if you know of any that Well,
I gave you an example. 113, clause 113 is there. That is practically sacrosanct.
Okay.
Right, and I believe that for what you call it, not equity. Well, something fairness, balance.
So you're saying 113. What you're saying about 113, it cannot be changed?
Yeah, it can be amended. It can be changed. But it can't be changed easily.
Okay.
It requires a referendum, doesn't it?
Right. Well, let me ask you this: can you just give your view of whether it can be changed or not, and whether it requires a referendum? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can Mr. Brand have an alternate view of the interpretation of it?
An alternate view of 113?
Yes, whether it can be changed or not and so on. Can he has an alternate view?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So you are aware that a few years ago we have a constitution, and different persons had different views about the interpretation of it?
Yes.
And that was in the constitution?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't changed, right?
Right, but remember that different persons had different views about it.
Hence the 2/3. That's why I say it's difficult to change.
Different things.
No, what I'm saying is, you had a few years ago some confusion where something was written in the Constitution and one side or one set of persons says, this is what it means. And
you could be specific?
Yeah, when we were facing the vote of no confidence, I think it was.
Mm.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mean we need something like that?
We need,
because remember that's in the Constitution, you know, but remember it had different interpretations.
And what do we do when we have interpretations? We carry it to the courts, don't we?
Well,
Yeah.
you had an even more recent time.
Yeah, go ahead.
One fired 6 and 6 couldn't fire 1. You remember?
That's in the Constitution, you know, but...
Oh.
Now go ahead.
Oh, okay. 1 fire 6 and 6 couldn't fire 1. I understand what the caller. I think I have an understanding of what the caller is hoping to be implemented. I suppose many of us, you know, have been searching our minds and the Premier and the Prime Minister, I believe, will have to do the same to really make something concrete and satisfying. A concrete arrangement that goes beyond, you know, beyond the life of a government, of a particular political party running the affairs of Nevis or even the affairs of St. Kitts. And I think that's the great discovery right now. The callers say implement a system. I could understand that, and it will have its flaws, but it will be just very, very, very difficult to walk away from. Again, if it's too difficult to walk away from, what about if the next and that heightened the importance of the discussion today? You know, it heightens the importance of the discussion between the Premier and Prime Minister to get things right, that it can transcend beyond the life of different governments, you know, because you don't want, you know, personally it can be achieved, but in terms of satisfaction on both sides, but I see, you know, fertile soil for confusion if it's not double and triply entrenched, I suppose. And even that in itself, I think that's what the caller is talking about when he referred to system, you know. And yes, we can create a system. Sometimes it's very difficult to come up with an example, but with all the legal minds we have around in the Federation, a system can be created.
Yeah, but we don't want to create a system that sounds very, very bright and is not practical, you know. What you want to do is create systems that's workable.
Cool.
And in order to do that, my humble view is you have to now think on the aspects of human nature and human behavior.
Yes.
Because I think we started out, Naya, by saying that we didn't expect or think that the United States could do such a turnaround. Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, you're on the air. Good evening, you're on the air. I'm sorry, good evening, you're on the air.
Good evening, Webbo.
Yes, you're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Yes. I was saying, this is your Thomas thing. One thing I hope that my Premier, also the Prime Minister, be mindful this is a resource of Nevis. I got to ask straight and plain. In everything, it should be a federal government, but the minister in Sinkits talk of Sinkits. Everything Sinkits. But now the geothermal Sinkits Nevis. So I hope my premier be mindful and keep that in the head that this is Nevis resource and don't let nobody pull no wool over your eye. That's my little input.
Okay, thank you. Who did I interrupt?
Well, I think the caller is making sense, and I think he speaks for most division. You know, as I said, the importance of today's discussion cannot be underestimated. You know, the conclusion and the arrangement that I suppose would follow these discussions. It's got to be one of great understanding and long life. History really make us very skeptic and a bit worrisome as it relates to the steps we're going to take going forward with this particular arrangement, as it's been termed, a federal arrangement.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, could you check on your tower light, the one radio tower light? Just seem to be working.
Yeah, we are aware of it, thank you, and we're getting it sorted out.
Just wanted you to know. Thank you, good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Webbo, as I was saying earlier, Webbo, both governments, would have to work together, because there are certain things that the NIA just cannot do on its own, and would have to have the backing of the federal government. And that is why I said earlier, it's best to have conversations and not confrontation. And I believe that these joint cabinet meetings, could only foster better relationships. I believe that, in these meetings, you lay out your cards on the table. You let each other know what you want to accomplish, for your particular island, and what you want to accomplish for the federation. There's been, for example, some talk about in the past and probably recently about a bridge from Sinkits and Nevis joining both islands. And if a bridge were to be built, then what would happen? Who does it benefit most? Would it bring a ease to both islands, so to speak, or would one benefit much more? What happens now to our boaters from the Nevis, and I'm speaking, where most of the boaters, the sea taxi owners, operators, and division, they ply the trade. What would happen to those in their employ? How many persons are in their employ? What happened to them when they do not have monies coming in at the end of the week, at the end of the month? Can they feed the family? Can they meet the bank? What would happen to our wish to have a upgraded international airport? What would happen? Would our wish be just die slowly? So these are important matters that I believe that can be hashed out or rehashed in a setting such as a joint cabinet meetings, instead of probably even going into parliament to do these. When you do these in joint cabinet meetings, you come out with an understanding, notwithstanding that the Premier of Nevis is also the leader of the opposition in the federal parliament, notwithstanding that. And even more so in this peculiar situation, if joint cabinet meetings are being held, as is now, things I think could run smoother. Nevis, I believe, could stand to gain much more. St. Kitts would stand to gain much more. For example, most times we feel as if that, we have to depend on St. Kitts for certain things. St. Kitts is larger. St. Kitts, Bastia is the capital of St. Kitts Nevis, and we have to be realistic. But look at it now. Look at geothermal.
Bastia is the capital of St. Kitts Nevis?
Yeah. Look at geothermal. Where the source is coming from.
I've heard that really. All the years I'm around. Bastia is the capital of St. Kitts Nevis? Bastia is no capital of St. Kitts Nevis. It's the capital of St. Kitts. Charlestown is the capital of Nevis.
Okay.
Got it.
Where am I? Yes. I was speaking about the geothermal. It's almost like the reverse now. So the source of the geothermal now is in Nevis. So no doubt the Prime Minister and Kittitians, would be looking and hoping that, and of course Nevisians, would be hoping that this thing could come to fruition. So now we have, a hole on the handle, so to speak. And we ought to hold that handle. If we are in the particular, if the ball is in our court now, we bounce it as we see fit.
If someone got the handle, that means someone has got the blade.
Something
should we be going down the path? I'm not sure.
Something Roger said that I wanted to pick up on, and I thought that it was an interesting observation, and it fits well into what we are talking about in terms of the advancement of the geothermal project. Roger said that they are just the NIA. There are certain things that the NIA just cannot do. And we found ourselves being stuck with the geothermal project. I believe it was for almost 7 years because former Prime Minister just was not minded to advance the support to the CDB to ignite what has now taken place. So we lost 5-7 years because of that. And it goes back to what I said earlier, that here it is, we have a government in Bastia who gave no commitment, made no promises to the island of Nevis, but at the same time being willing to work well with the government and the people of Nevis to advance this project. And I think, Webbo, as I said earlier, that the world is really watching us to see that we can get over the line on this, because I think that it gives a clear indication of the mutual respect and the cooperation that we can have, even if we are, Roger put it nicely, leader of the opposition, and the Premier is wearing dual hat, leader of the opposition, Premier of Nevis. But I think that, let me put it this way, from what I have observed, Premier has been around in politics for quite a while, and I think that his level of maturity have now been bearing through and coming to the fore, because yes, he's the leader of the opposition in the federal parliament, and he's not just opposing things because he's the leader of the opposition or for opposing sake. And we recognize that the contribution and the maturity and the input as the leader of the opposition. He been able to make that transition as the premier, and I think that, Webbo, what we are seeing is as a matter of, in my mind, maturity, and I think that at the end of the day, I am hoping and I'm praying that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will be the ultimate beneficiary.
I guess all of us want to get to that point of hoping and realizing that we are the ultimate beneficiaries, people of St. Kitts and Nevis. But in the midst of that, there's an alley called equality.
Yes.
And that's what we want to see established. Harmony amongst the island, and we can only hope for that. And whatever the discussion is in the joint cabinet meetings, we just hope that we as Nevisians hope that we are well represented.
That's the last word. This program repeats at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Map. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock for Government at Work. A place to spend all of your evenings right here in the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. To all that get results, you all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertiser.